Hey, it's Zodiac Bandit, and even before we get into the true intro into this video, I just want to say spoilers for all of Campaign 3 so far. Even though I don't know if I do spoil everything, I just want to make sure that this is said before so I don't hear in the comments section spoilers. I did put it in the thumbnail. I will write it on the text before this starts. Spoilers. So there you go. Spoilers, 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 spoilers. Don't want to see it. I've said spoilers. Do not watch this video if you're behind. Spoilers. Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Zodiac Bandit, and this week is the Apogee Solstice in Critical Role. Episode 50 is upon us within 3 days. 3 days? My math's bad. 3 days. And I want to discuss the potential for the Bells Hells to win this event. It is very well stacked against them, as there are a few issues that they have ahead of them that end some very big unknowns. But I want to discuss what it could take for the Bells Hells to win and what it could take for them to lose. And I'm going to give my predictions throughout several different sort of options here. So let's get into it. First, I want to discuss what the Bells have at their disposal for their side of this fight. First up, they have Ira, who has been looking at the dig site for a while and likely knows how to walk around it very stealthily and knows the paths around to get where, and likely also knows the patrols that the guards go on, so stealthing around it will be a lot easier than initially expected. They also have the Silver Sun waiting above the dig site, ready to be dropped on it, just in case. They also have printed on the bottom half of it the Cerberus assembly symbol to make it blend in as it's meant to be there. On the Silver Sun, they also have bombs that FCG has specifically asked for to be arcane in nature, and they also have a crawler bike just in case they want to go balls deep and begin to do a suicide attempt to get close enough to the thing, to the Malleus Key. They also have Keyleth and the Ashari. Keyleth is likely to be weakened, however, as she will be trying to transport a large group of her people to said dig site or near it, and will likely be helping heal other members of her people, as they just had a fight in Terra, the Earth Ashari home, to defend the rift there. They also have knowledge of their own of the dig site from dreamwalking it, so hopefully it's not too difficult for them to traverse it. And they might be able to turn Liliana against the enemies, as hopefully Imogen can either break through her, or she's always been on their side and is being very deceitful toward Odahan and the people at the dig site. So those are what they have at their disposal, the possibilities and, potential turns of Liliana maybe could put it in their favor, but as of right now, they're severely understacked compared to the enemy, which we will be going over next. The enemies have the Ruby Vanguard and the Paragon's Call, who are guaranteed to be at the dig site. These are two large groups underneath Ludinus Deleth and Odahan Thule. They also have Liliana here, and if she's truly evil, then she is going to be a massive problem for the Bells Hells. They also likely have Ratanish to contend with, one of the generals for the Paragon Call, who they've had interactions with in the past. Also, the Ruby Vanguard seem to have at least 4 15-foot tall automatons, and we've heard several times throughout this campaign, there's likely a great deal of Exalted Ruidusborn, or just Ruidusborn in general, somewhere around the dig site. And the enemy likely has boons from Ruidus that will likely aid them in some way. Let's not forget, they also have the Fey Realm. Seeing as how the Fey Realm allies have nothing to protect anymore, it's likely they'll either be protecting both the other two dig sites, but there is a chance they've cut ties with this, as it's now going to be a bad idea, but I highly doubt that. So like I said, it truly looks like the Bells are outnumbered, unless the Ashari bring a metric fuck ton of people to aid them in this fight. But there is another group that I haven't talked about yet, and that is Vasselheim. They are going to be some sort of middle ground in between, who will likely attack either or if they somehow stumble upon the dig site, with the Judicators likely not caring who you are, they're just going to attack. So they could be a benefit to the Hells, or they could be a detriment to them, and they are a massive question mark in this entire fight, as they likely not only have Judicators, but they likely have other big, strong people walking around trying to figure out more things about this dig site and about what's going on for this Apogee Solstice. But hopefully, if they do show up, the Bells will be able to turn them on their side, as they can try to convince them that these bad guys are trying to kill off their gods. And that should be enough to turn Vasselheim towards the enemy and not toward them. So a big question mark from Vasselheim there. So how do I see this playing out? So there's a couple of options that I've sort of come up with in my own head, and that is, first, they try to sneak around the upper ring of this big dig site, and they get caught, and this is where I think they run into Ratanish. I believe Ratanish is probably low on the necessary people who need to be down near the Malleus Key, so this will likely be where they run into Ratanish and a handful of Exalted Ones, and I actually think the party start to split up here. So they're starting off as a big group with Ira, and I think this is where Ashton steps up, and maybe FCG stays with them, and this is where Ashton versus Ratanish 2 happens in a rematch to the death this time, and I think that gives the others enough time to get away, as Ratanish will have his hands full with Ashton, and maybe FCG if FCG decides to stick around. But after that, that fight continues on as the rest of the group continue making their way down, and hopefully they didn't get alarmed too much, and they don't have to sprint down to the Malleus Key now. But I also think there is a massive problem with Shadow Lord Zethouda running around on Gloomglut, and that is where I think Keyleth comes in. I think those two will be the ones fighting, as they are the respective Fae people, or Keyleth being the World Traveler, and Zethouda being the Fae representative here in this fight. And I do think that they clash above the battlefield, as her being an elemental of some sort, and him on Gloomglut. I think the two of them have a battle which effectively take each other out of the whole thing, much like how Zethouda fought Nanamori before, and he sort of got eliminated from the whole situation for a little while. I think the same thing happens here, but I actually think Keyleth probably defeats him, as Keyleth is a tank in her own right. She can also transform into a dragon, if I remember correctly, so she's probably going to be a big problem for Zethouda. So likely going to eliminate each other completely, and here's where I think things get a little messy, as they sort of have to run into other people. I think we're going to have the group break up into two, one group trying to get the body of Rin out of there, which will probably be FCG, Chetney, and Ira, and we will see Laudna, Aurum, Fern, and Imogen try to go take on Liliana, or try to go take on Odahan, or both. And I think what will end up happening, in my opinion, they'll end up seeing Ludinus for the team of Ira, Chetney, and FCG, because FCG might not be running around with Ashton up top. Ashton might have just asked for a one-on-one. But I think Ashton joins that fight after they beat Ratanish, and then that group fights Ludinus, and then the other group fights Odahan and Liliana. And if I'm going to predict that Liliana's good, so Liliana's going to turn on Odahan, that gives the Witch side and Aurum the upper hand on Odahan, and they're able to take her out. This is a scenario where things go perfectly right for them. And then Ludinus escapes because Ira is being a pain in the ass and is helping quite considerably, and the others are about to rush over and start to help them. So Ludinus dips, they're able to destroy the Malleus Key, they keep the Silver Sun, they're able to get the hell out. This is if planning goes perfectly, even with a minor stumble of running into Ratanish at the top, but this is just one possibility. This is the possibility of best scenario in my opinion, and I'm hoping it's the one they get. And now a scenario where things go tits up, and that is they're stealthing around the upper portions yet again, but instead of running into Ratanish, they run into someone stronger like Odahan or Ludinus, or right from the get-go, and this immediately messes them up. They could even run into Shadow Lord Zethouda here. I still think Shadow Lord Zethouda and Keyleth is like the big centerpiece of this fight, and I think that they're still going to be ending up this way, and like they're going to be fighting each other. But if they run into Ludinus, that's problems, because Odahan might appear immediately after that, or vice versa. And in this scenario, Liliana has no chance of turning good. She's a bad guy in this scenario. So, right off the bat, we're starting off with a big fight, and it's likely that Ludinus is going to be able to deplete them before he escapes. I don't think Ludinus will be able to kill any of them. He might. Keep in mind, they're a lot stronger than when they were when they initially fought Odahan. So if they run into Odahan first, I think they might be able to eliminate her completely with a big strain on their resources. But if they fight Ludinus, they're going to be zapped, and he's going to leave. He's going to leave and think about better interests like, I don't know, the Shadow Fae, or the Shadow Realm key, and protect it. He's going to dip from this fight after realizing that these guys aren't going anywhere, but he's going to zap them of most of their stuff, and as they move down, they're going to run into Odahan, and they're going to have even more problems here, and they're going to run into Liliana. As things continue on, it's going to spiral downward, And this is where I think story-wise, I'm going to have to give my predictions of who I think will die before they have to start thinking of dropping the Silver Sun onto this whole equation. That being, story-wise, in my opinion, there's only 2 characters that I think if they were to die, it would be like a really big impact on all this. And that is Imogen and Orym. They're the 2 who are deeply, like, the most tied to all of this, with Orym's family being killed off by Odahan's assassins as they attack Keyleth, and Keyleth is now currently fighting above in the sky against Shadow Lord Zethruda, and Imogen obviously fighting her mother, and her mother submitting herself as the truly evil character in either seeing her daughter die and not caring, or killing her daughter off herself. But there's also a possibility of her daughter dying, which is what she claims to be fighting for, her daughter, and she ends up turning. So this might be a benefit, a weird benefit, albeit, but it also might lead to something different. Maybe Imogen turns on the party as she believes, as she's been messing around with the whole idea of believing this might not be as bad as it's stated before, and now we have a whole other exalted problem to worry about. So this scenario is tits up. They have to drop a bomb, and I think we do lose a few people. It's possible that we lose a few. We might lose Xandus here, as Xandus might be the one that has to drive the ship down into the Malleus Key, but I think this is very unlikely. I think the idea of this going completely tits up is not very high. And as much as it would be exciting to see how bad this could go, I think the true answer lies in between these 2 scenarios, where we end up having some sort of good luck and very bad luck, as that is the game of D&D. This can go really bad really quick, or it can go really good really quick, or it can be in between. And I firmly believe that the answer to what's going to happen lies in between. I think we're likely going to see a rematch between Rutanish and Ashton. I think we're going to see Odahan versus Imogen 2 with the other witch bitches behind her sort of backing her up. And I also think Orym would back her up quite considerably, as this is Orym's biggest fight and his biggest motivation moving forward is getting rid of Odahan. And I also think that a big chance of Liliana either being good or evil is way up in the air and we don't know. And like I said earlier, there is still the huge potential of Judicators and other Vasselheim people showing up, throwing all of this out of control. Who knows? Maybe Keyleth doesn't fight Shadow Lord Zethruda, even though I feel like that's the build-up. So, again, all this is all predictions. If I have to give a prediction, I would like to see the better option work out, where they're able to lose no one, they go in, they fuck it shit up, maybe some of them get injured, but none of them die. That's the best one. Oh, and they also take out Odahan, potentially take out Liliana or turn her, but in none of these scenarios do I see Ludinus dying. I think Ludinus gets the hell out of there the minute things start to turn bad for him, and he's smart enough to do so. So yeah, what do you think? Do you guys think that this is going to go really well? Do you think it's going to go really bad? Do you think it's going to be in between? Do you think we're going to lose anybody? Let me know in the comment section down below. It was fun really thinking about all the stuff that each team had at their disposal. I didn't even talk about how the automatons might ruin everything, because they might, but I feel like FCG might have a plan, so we'll see. I think this will be a fun fight that's coming up on Thursday, so looking forward to it. And yeah, that's been the video. Been a bit of a discussion, bit of theorizing, bit of predictions. Everything that needs to be in a good video. Hopefully. Hopefully you thought it was good. Anyway, see you guys on Friday for the recap of episode 50. Looking forward to that. Very, very excited and very, very nervous. See you guys then. Peace. One last thing before I even go. This art that you're seeing right here is the new art for all the thumbnails that's been throughout this entire video, as I feel like it's a good picture to look at as we go into this discussion or these predictions or theories or whatever the hell you want to call this, analyzation of whatever we have left before getting into this big fight. But this is by the same artist that I normally have do the thumbnails and the regular pieces for my recap videos, and this is the new recap thumbnail and art piece, all done by Soul Hero. Again, this is awesome. I think this one is really cool because it has all of the characters in color. They've been there the whole time, but he's grayed it out or blacked them out because he thought it would look better with that and then like a really colorful background. But I asked him for the characters to all be visible, fully visible, and for there to be an Aurora Borealis and a Red Moon, and he did that smashingly, so it looks really good. Really excited for it. This is the new thumbnail for all of the rest of the campaign, as I've asked for too much. Too many thumbnails. once every 25 videos. So I'm going to stick with this one for a while until Ruidus is no longer relevant, I guess. So yeah, new thumbnail and new art piece. Thanks.